So with this mic, it's pretty forgiving, but
Not
you do
that
have to
forgiving.
actually use it.
Okay, so this.
Yeah.
Well, you
How
don't
are
have
my
to,
levels right now?
They're great.
How are my
looking
levels
great.
right now?
I'm seeing them here, and they look great.
How are my levels right now?
Oh, still great.
No
Yeah.
boy.
Do you even see levels?
From Indianapolis, Indiana, this is Truth Lake. So I want to make a quick announcement to you guys. And if you're wondering why everything's going so fast, it's because I now have fiber internet here.
I could sense the speed
I thought you were going
around
to say
me.
fibromyalgia. So that's because you're like,
Well-
I have an announcement.
I would be bragging. I would be bragging. But yeah, fiber internet. Everything's faster. I'm telling you.
I can feel it.
It's humming.
It's palpable. So I would even say things that I didn't even know would go faster. Like there's things like when you turn on a Netflix show, it just comes through clear quickly. You know, like sometimes it has to render for a minute. That is gone. But even just auxiliary things I never thought of, like the oven's even going faster. I don't even know how it works.
How would the oven go faster?
That's a great question. It's fiber.
Carrie
It's fiber.
Carrie goes faster with her demands now too.
Right.
Daniel. And Daniel goes slower on
It's
response.
like 1.5 speed.
Yeah, but he's de-escalated his speed. How does that work?
Yeah, it is weird. I
don't
get
understand that.
chores done much slower.
The universe always seeks balance.
Yeah.
Oh, wisdom.
All right, I want to ask you guys a question. It's Halloween.
It is.
For the listeners that don't know, you're listening to Truth Ache, and we normally record in the afternoon. We're recording a little bit earlier today on a Friday, Halloween 2025. And every year I think about this, about whether or not I believe in ghosts. And I want to know what you think, Michael. Do you believe in ghosts?
I believe in ghosts. My car actually shows ghosts around the automobile. So have you guys seen this lately on the Tesla Vision? So Tesla is all vision, right? And they have these cars, and my car does it too. If you go through a cemetery or somewhere, wherever, it shows people walking or cars in front of you, and it actually shows the animation of an individual walking. So if you walk in front of my car, I'll see you.
Interesting.
You go into a cemetery, and I'll see cars see individuals walking right beside the car, walking right.
So
in front
it
of the car.
projects onto the glass
projects on the
like
screen,
an whatever they
it's
call
on
it,
the
heads-up
screen.
display type.
Not
thing?
on the heads-up display, on the actual screen where you see everything in the car.
Okay,
No kidding.
I swear to God,
that's
I
my
think
car
you're
does that too. I need to go to a cemetery.
check that out, man.
That's-
It's real.
I love that.
It's so I didn't, but now I do.
okay.
I'm a
So that
believer.
was the confirmation.
That was the confirmation.
Elon Musk made it clear for you.
Well, I don't know about Elon specifically, but his car did.
Because of Elon Musk, you believe in ghosts.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a
big.
great
I like
opener.
I like the software. So yeah, no. So yes, no. I believe in ghosts.
Okay. Well, what about you, Aaron? You a ghost believer?
I'm open to it, like most things. I'm skeptical. I think people hallucinate. Well, I know people hallucinate all the time and then forget very quickly. And I think a lot of ghosts are
Just a figment of our
Imaginary.
memory.
a figment of our projection. However, I don't know. I like the idea. I certainly believe demons are real.
Well,
Okay,
if
so
you
you-
believe demons are
Yeah,
real,
yeah,
You're,
yeah.
you're
ghosts have
quicker
gotta
to
be.
believe in demons
No,
than
no, I was
just like
thinking about
your
that.
average friendly
Well,
ghost.
If you've ever been with somebody in addiction or with severe mental health issues, and you're seeing how this person behaves, I think about it a lot with like homeless meets drugs. I see a possession almost, like the person is under something.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I actually did cast demons out of an individual.
Did you?
Yeah,
me
it
too.
was fun.
Goodness.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Thank
Did you
you.
see him?
Thank
Did
you.
you see him come out?
Where'd they go? What
He's better
happens now?
Did you see him come out?
No,
Oh.
he just kind of acted a little crazier.
Did he levitate off the bed and all that good stuff?
No, nothing really TV worthy, but it was a pretty dramatic experience, but in a very human way. It was great.
Yeah, and I think the experience of that is a useful metaphor. I was thinking about it's kind of a religious-y thing
Yeah.
typically, but I can see the value in it of separating people from these possessive behaviors. So I guess I try to explain it through psychology rather than mysticism.
Yeah, I got
But
you.
I like the idea. I think there's energy everywhere.
Chris, what are your thoughts on ghosts?
Well, I actually believe in UFOs, astral projection, mental telepathy, ESP, clairvoyance, spirit photography. This is all from the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was going to say, no, I can accept all of those things.
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Me too. What a great line.
They hate that. Anyway, go ahead.
So I would say, yes, I believe in a lot of things, and ghosts are one of them.
Mhm.
However, like you said, energy is something that I think that when there is a very violent death or a very violent experience, I think that there is an echo of the energy of that moment that lingers.
Yeah.
Maybe it has a conscious, maybe it doesn't. I don't understand that. I think it's also very interesting to think about if there are ghosts wandering around the earth, and it's sort of like the movies where they can't make contact, but they can move a table or a glass. What does that mean for like an afterlife? Because that sounds like hell. Right?
I kind of think I was going to ask you what would be, you mentioned violence or trauma kind of thing. What would be the effect of an unsatisfied or unfinished life after death? Like maybe it is a not leaving or a not dispersing, but that concentration of energy.
Does anybody ever really feel like they finished something like their life, you know?
No.
I can't imagine.
But if there is something, an obsession, or if there's I'll have to look after my family. You know, if I were to die right now, revenge. Yes, if I were to die right now, I'd be terrified.
You'd be like, you didn't even finish the laundry, much less anything else.
Let me tell you, I still have a load in from yesterday that I need to rewash.
Oh my
goodness!
Oh, the rewash is the worst. It's like, I've got to. I'm also bad at this.
That doesn't work in my house. The let the laundry sit for a day. Ooh, man,
it stinks.
Yeah, that's not
to your point with children.
Mm-hmm.
I can't die yet. That's what I tell myself almost every day. I can't die yet. If I could, I don't know if I'd want to or not, but I can't yet.
I just looked at the account balances today. I can die. Lori's okay.
That's got to be.
Oh, mine's the opposite.
Yeah.
Listen, one of us is going to have to work the rest of my life.
Can I jump
the other
in on this?
The insurance money.
Yeah, that too. As a kid growing up, qualified the age of a kid, like 4 or 5 years old. Mm-hmm. My sister and I, who's a year and a half younger than myself, grew up in this really old home built in the early 1900s in Dixon, Illinois, where President Reagan was born. By the way, I was born in the same hospital as President Reagan.
I see the resemblance.
Yeah. Just a little sci-fi. But that house was haunted. I mean, literally haunted. Lights would flicker on and off above the fireplace, but when you'd bring an electrician out, the lights weren't even wired, right? Mm-hmm. Windows would open and close. And these are old wooden frame windows.
Yeah.
So things that would open and close with effort, with the velocity.
Right.
It's like, what the hell? So that whole energy thing, I buy into that. I had an aunt who came in that house. I remember, I think I was 6 or 7 when we moved.
6, 7.
And she walked in the house she said, oh yeah, I know where you're going. She walked in the house and she said, this house is haunted, and walked out. Mm-hmm. She never came in.
So that's crazy.
I have nightmares about that house to this day.
You still have nightmares?
Yeah, literally. The basement was this eerie, dark, icky basement, and there was always something creepy about that thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was weird. It was a weird house, man.
I lived in a house very similar downtown Indy at 22nd in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. You're driving, it's a southbound road. Second house on the left is a blue duplex. You know
I know the house. Yeah, it's right by my house.
I lived in that house for a year back in 2012.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
I tell you.
Lifetime.
A lifetime. 10. A 10-year-old's lifetime.
Yeah, that's right.
A child.
Or wait, 15-year-olds.
A child's lifetime.
So when I moved in, it was just me, and I had gone through a horrible breakup. My dad had just died, all within the same week. So a lot of like, I'm not in a great place. So I rent this huge house for me and the dog, and it is 10-foot vault ceilings and 2,200 square feet of a duplex from this very old house. So I had a friend over, and he said he felt spirits. Ooh. And so I was like, whatever. And then the second or the third morning that I was there, I was out on the porch, and the neighbor that I had not met yet, he said, oh, hey. And I'm like, well, what's the sound levels like? I want to be respectful in case I listen to my stereo or play my drums. And he said, well, I did hear you talking to your girlfriend this morning. And I'm like, Joke's
Whoa.
on you, buddy. Haven't had
he
one of
say?
those since I was 15.
Wow.
And then I said, well, that wasn't me. And then we figured out that the room he heard it from was a room that I did not occupy. And it was a back bedroom with a clown painting.
Oh my gosh, that
in it.
the
I'm
plot
not kidding.
thickens.
Somebody left it there.
Oh.
The psychic friend came back and said, I feel the energy of a man and a woman in this room.
Interesting.
So a couple days later, my friend Sharon comes over. She gets drunk and starts antagonizing the ghosts. And blah, blah, blah. Come out, ghosts, and just making a joke. So she leaves. The next morning, I'm showering.
Oh, no.
The smoke detector that has not been replaced since the 80s, that is right by the bathroom, above the guest room where the hauntings occurred, flew off down the hallway, which is about 15 to 20 feet.
Wow.
Oh my
and was
god.
resting on the other side. And I'm like, I'm out.
So it
Yeah.
didn't just go vertically; it went horizontally from its original spot.
Yeah, oh yeah, it popped off and was almost thrown down the hallway.
That'll get
That's
your
crazy.
attention.
And then another friend was over, and I had him upstairs, and I said, "Yeah, some people say this room is haunted." And as soon as I said that, a fuse blew. As soon as I said haunted, boom, all the lights.
Okay,
went
no, I'm
Wow.
leaving my stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This house belongs to the dog. you can come with me.
I'm going to take the Tesla over there tonight and
Mhm.
just
See what
park
we
and
see.
see if I see any
Yeah.
visual
That's a great idea.
zombies walking
Drive
by.
Yeah.
it like right up to the
Yeah,
front door.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's
it'd be nice
Halloween,
if you
so-
could put that in like a handheld
Wouldn't that be
device, but
cool? There's a whole thing on Mythbusters about it right now. If you go
Really?
online, yeah, seriously, there's a real.
That's a phenomenon.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, Daniel, what about you?
well, I think that with me, it's always depends on what you mean by ghosts, But I'm going
Good
to
question.
I'm going to bypass the unreasonable answer that is, despite being especially reasonable. I think that there must be something that explains all these stories, these phenomenons, right? And I don't know what the explanation is. And not long ago, I started listening to this podcast, or it's a series that has a beginning and an end, and then they did a new season that's less interesting. But it's
True
about,
Detective?
well, very similar. So this one's called the Telepathy Tapes, and it's about it's basically about how they've discovered that nonverbal autistic kids sometimes are able to communicate telepathically or do something that appears as though they are.
Mm-hmm.
And they also kind of, those same kids, once you get in the ability to communicate with them, like some people have learned how to communicate with them, they talk about the spirits that they basically of people past that are, that are congregated on this hill or whatever. So it's just this really interesting story with lots of evidence that they pursued through this investigative documentary. And so it just makes me think, there's so many things that we don't know about consciousness, about why consciousness is something, and then about how, the invisible parts of the world work. So my answer is, I don't believe in ghosts in the simplest sense of like, oh, there's spirits floating around all the time. But that leaves an unanswered question, and I don't know what the answer is.
So you're undecided. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I'm not sure what I'm hearing.
I think it's better to say I don't know, but I'm not ready to just
Got it.
say no.
Dismiss it.
I'm not ready to dismiss it. Yeah.
Is the instinct to say no rooted in your past experience with faith and religion? In that
Great question.
you want to throw that all away, but there are supernatural
It is.
things that need explanation.
It is because I believed things without reason for a really long time. And then I eventually evaluated that and then, basically decided I was going to have a reason for anything I believe. And then that leaves me to, I think, practice humility by saying, I don't know.
Yes.
Instead of deciding yes or no, I do or don't believe in ghosts or something else, I have to have a basis for that belief.
Did you believe the act that you earlier before we actually started, you were talking about something you did as a previous lifetime. Exorcism. Did you believe then what you saw?
I believed it
You
at
did.
the time.
Yeah.
But when I think back to that,
Was it?
that casting out of demons, I actually wrote this whole story out on my blog.
Wow.
I was actually in the process of writing a book about my upbringing, and which I only published like a few sample chapters of on my blog. But I believed in the notion of Christians casting demons out of, people that are possessed by the
Sure.
devil and his
sure.
team. And
His team.
but nothing supernatural happened. The dude was basically schizophrenic and homeless and crazy, probably on drugs. And so I believe that he was demon possessed. That's just kind of what I was taught, the direction I was taught to think. And so I, just like on The Exorcist, more or less, more of a Protestant version of that, I cast demons out of him. He reacted very aggressively, but in very strange ways that I explained to myself as spiritual.
Got it.
Right? But there was no floating bodies. There was no apparitions. There was
Head
no
turning
aura.
around,
He
probably
was
some
at one
vomiting.
point cleaning his aura. He would
Wow.
with his hands a couple inches away from his
Yeah.
body, he would pick stuff off and throw it off.
I mean,
Wow.
a bunch of teenagers are surrounding him at this point and casting out a demon.
Right?
That's kind of a bad trip, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, that sounds awful.
It sounds like bad drugs.
I would
Surprised he didn't
say-
strike out.
Well, along with that, Daniel, I think there is power, and I use the Christian terminology for this, power in focused belief, focused prayer,
Very
focused
much.
thought, I think, but it has nothing to do with in the name of Jesus and the Godhead and all of that. It is the power of thought to influence the physical environment. And so for me, it's more about the mix of thought and form, sensation and idea, and the idea that belief itself is the thing that is powerful because it taps into the collective unconscious.
Yeah.
Or,
Do you think that the faith itself is the catalyst of that power of belief being harnessed or directed? Because I
think
agree
that's the
with you
focal
that
point
that
is-
power of belief
Yeah.
can be ridiculous and effective at the same time.
Yeah, that's the leverage or the lever somebody's pulling on.
It's
to
the
exercise.
secret,
Right?
right?
Mhm.
It's horse shit, but it works.
it's
if you-
manifestation.
If you
it's
are committed to the belief.
Well, and I would almost think of it as, regardless of whether you're explaining the situation correctly, what is happening is still happening.
Mhm.
right.
And so
does it work?
you finding a particular explanation to it doesn't change what is true. It just is the way that you're identifying or
Yeah.
bookmarking these things in your thinking.
Yeah, there is concrete truth, which is a great segue, right, to the socialism.
Well,
Oh, boy.
I'm
boy.
the host. I'm supposed to be the one doing that.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But you did a great job. You're hired.
Okay.
Yeah. Fine. You have to be the host now.
Well, he is back for the second time.
I do.
He
knows that he knows his way around.
He does.
I think it will be a great segue. Fantastic. You're so brilliant, Chris.
Not to cut off that conversation, of course.
Yeah, can I support Chris's point
Yeah,
with
go
a
for it.
comment? Well, thinking about the ghosts and
Mhm.
unfinished business or unresolved
Yeah.
business and the topic that you're about to introduce and something we talked about even earlier, which I can't recall, the theme of grievance has come up, and it's something you were talking about earlier that I knee-jerk reaction sort of dismissed as that's just more grievance, more entitlement. Not what you were doing, but what you were explaining of others. And I wonder if that's a big part of ghosts and a big part of what you want to introduce. There's a grievance energy problem.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand your point, but I think that we can get into that. So today, I'm thinking about how next week, by the time this episode comes out, what is Wednesday's date? Is it the
4th?
It's the 4th.
No, it's the 5th. Excuse me.
Okay.
It's the 5th.
So by the time
Monday's
this
the
comes out, we will know who the mayor of New York City is. Of course, that is often considered like a representative, predictor of what's happening in the greater population, whether it's reasonable or not.
Wait, for New York or for all special elections? Being a predictor of the population.
Yeah. So people often cite it as a predictor of the things that are important to the rest of the population.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you can, back that up if you look at elections that follow, but everybody pays attention to that election because it's the biggest city. It'd be the biggest mayor.
It's a impactful one for sure.
Yeah. And so the mayor of New York City has jurisdiction over a number of people that is greater than the state of Indiana, right?
Yes.
And their budget's probably bigger too. I don't know what it is. But so more than likely, if the polls and everything hold true to reality, we will have someone who is acknowledged as a socialist, or a socialist Democrat is what he calls himself.
I was going to say, does he self-identify?
Yeah, he does. He's like a member of that political party, I guess, or an association or whatever. So he's officially a socialist Democrat. We may have a socialist Democrat in a major elected position next week, or by the time this episode airs. And I think that what's interesting about that is if you go back to the 1920s, the first Red Scare after World War I, everybody was kind of turned off to the idea of socialism, because socialism was this evil idea. It was taking away your freedom. It was, putting everything in the control of the state. And you describe it both accurately and disfavorably at the same time, and you move the public's opinion away from it. And so the public has been turned off by this whole idea for so long. So what I'm wondering is, can socialism actually thrive even in a micro environment, in like a single geography in the USA?
It does already.
Amen.
We just don't acknowledge
Say
it.
more about that.
Oh, say more.
Right?
Say
How
much
about
more.
how about fire, police, fire department, police department, or
Education.
emergency rooms for healthcare? I mean, these are all socialist
Farm
pieces.
subsidies,
Yes.
bailouts of all of the tax
It's
breaks we
everywhere.
give to business so that we can be business friendly.
It's everywhere. Gas and oil. I mean,
Yes.
what drives me bananas right now in this crazy world we live in is that people refuse to identify what's already in place versus, oh gosh, we can't do that. We can't subsidize alternative energy. What the hell? We're still doing it with fossil fuel. We're subsidizing that this very moment.
Mm-hmm.
So so when I say we're already doing it, we are already doing it. And Daniel, I think you're spot on. I do think that word socialism brings ickiness to a conversation. People think really bad things, right? They think they're going to lose their freedom. They feel they're going to lose their ability to be an American because it's a socialistic state.
Yeah, it's been akin to farting in public.
Yes,
it's just
I love
this
that.
taboo with the idea of it.
Right.
Aaron, what are you thinking? You look very pensive.
I have a lot of thoughts. Move on.
By the way, I just want to
move
point out biscuits and gravy this morning. Did everyone read the Lauren?
I actually
Epsom?
stopped by Hardee's
Oh.
for a fried pork biscuit and gravy sandwich,
dog.
but I had missed breakfast.
You
so.
dog.
Are we supposed to eat biscuits and gravy today?
Well, because someone wrote about it, yes.
Yeah, probably in honor
Tubbo
of
over here.
the latest issue of the Lorem Ipsum was focused on biscuits and gravy, because I had biscuits and gravy this week.
With a fried egg, it sounds like.
And so here's the thing about biscuits and gravy. So I came to get my serving of B's and G's after my wife had taken her serving, and it was
Smart move.
what remained was mine.
Yeah.
And there was one biscuit and, a bowl worth of, you could fill a bowl with gravy. And I was like, what the fuck? Only one biscuit? This is complete bullshit.
Biscuit
I was pissed.
and grave?
Yeah.
Is that all I
biscuit
get?
and gravy? No, it's biscuits and gravy.
I feel like gravy is plural.
And
So
my
yeah.
my English future son-in-law is probably listening to this right now, saying, "What? Why is he talking about
Scones and
cookies.
Mama Jam. I don't know what they call it over there.
So
Scones and marmalade.
so then I got to thinking about that. I was like, if I have all the exact same ingredients, you have sausage, you have lots of cream and milk and all this stuff, and then you have a biscuit or two. If I had that in the form of a sandwich, you would evaluate the calorie intake totally differently. You would look, if I had a bowl of oatmeal and put raisins or dried cherries in it, and I put brown sugar in it and stuff, you'd say, hey, that's a healthy breakfast. But as soon as I bake it into discs, you're like, why are you eating 6 oatmeal raisin cookies?
Yeah, like muffins aren't cakes.
Yeah, exactly. Muffins are great for breakfast.
Yeah.
You can eat pancakes, but if you eat cake for breakfast...
Wait till you hear about cereal.
Exactly.
Yes.
I've never heard anyone as an adult say muffins are good for breakfast or pancakes are good for breakfast.
Well, they're delicious.
But what
they are yummy. But
I think what's important is that it's socially acceptable.
Yeah, that's
to
your
eat
point.
it for breakfast.
Right, that's your point.
And so what I think is so interesting about this is that our opinion on anything is subject to what we think about its packaging.
Yeah.
Right? What we think about the terms that we use to describe it. So fascism and socialism are two very bad things. But we sure do, on either sides of the aisle, we sure do seem to love them both. And as you said, Michael, it's pervasive. We're already experiencing socialism in particular. We're already experiencing that throughout the U.S.
Public schools.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the thing I was thinking about. We're conflating a lot of stuff. Socialism and social policies being the first one that I'm hearing, which you talk about, which I'm a huge fan of, any number of them. I think even healthcare would be great. So those are socialist policies. I'm looking at Chris.
Well, how do you define socialism?
Well, yeah, that was
right?
going to be the thing, because we're talking about
just tell
whether
us.
or not we have a social safety net or programs to preserve society versus an organizational structure where a few people get to take whatever they want and distribute it however they see fit, and hopefully that'll go well, which a lot of people, or at least the message is, it never has. But to your point, there's examples of lowercase socialism that do seem to work well, or that we've accepted.
Yeah. Tolerated.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how they work. Chris?
I think that there has been a big marketing push by very, very wealthy people to make sure that our citizens do not get the same entitlements as being part of the wealthiest country that has ever existed in the history of the world, probably. We should have the same things that they have in European countries with public health care, public education, public college. It is not the Fox News nightmare of people are just dying in the emergency room waiting to get in. It is efficient. It is effective. You will still have innovations. People will still people will still invent the cures for diseases, even if there isn't a bazillion-dollar profit margin to be made. And I would also say that more likely than not, we already know how to cure cancer and all of these chronic diseases, and those are being, slowly dribbled out so that they can make profit. So
are you suggesting that managing disease is somehow not the best way
to make money
to treat the health of a human being?
I don't think anybody should ever get rich off
subscribing
of breast cancer.
to healthcare is not what's best for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a big, Daniel, you're the marketing person.
Daniel, I'm sorry, I want to interrupt and re-ask. So I hear you arguing for socialism.
Yes.
I have not heard you describe it in the way that it means to you, at least.
The way that I would view the gentleman in New York that I do not want to butcher his name, and I always do when I try.
Zohran Mamdani.
Mamdami.
Mamdami. See, I'm not gonna try.
It's a tough one. I don't
know.
like
I
it.
just need to work on it in practice. I don't want to do that out loud on a
You won't
podcast.
be the first one.
Hey,
to get it
I
wrong
struggled
when it's elected.
with Kamala.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know how to say now.
That's how you say it on Battlestar Galactica.
Kamala.
Yeah, Kamala Dramala. That's how I remember.
Oh, I remembered it from Battlestar Galactica. That's what they called weed. It was
Kamala. Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny.
So anyway,
I'm a big BSG fan.
So go ahead. You're asking a question. about, you said I'm the marketing guy. I want to know what you're looking for.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, who do you think is paying for the marketing to make sure that Americans never have the same socialism programs that exist in every other developed nation in the world?
I would say that the most likely accurate answer to that is everyone. So every company, especially substantial larger companies, are advocating for the policies that they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody is, once you get to that enterprise level, it starts to matter more what the population level situation is, policies, public opinion, all that kind of stuff. Maybe not so much on the small business side. They're all investing in something that pushes their values and their narrative.
Sure.
So I would say that it kind of, to me, it sounds more like a conspiracy, which I will leave to Aaron to be the proliferator of, to say that there's one bad guy, right, that's paying for this, right? So it is all of the companies. And I don't even think of it as inherently malicious, but rather they're saying, companies are like robots. They operate based on the programming that they have.
Greed and inhumanity.
And their programming, that's a negative way of spinning. The neutral word is they are designed to make a profit for their shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
And so you create systems that further that. And every decision that they make is usually not the decision of one person, but it's more like every person in that company becomes sort of like a sea. Think of the ocean. Like the whole ocean is moving in unison based on every little aspect that is moving it, and that is how it it becomes an impact on society. Is these big companies, all of which are investing to further their cause, are doing what they can.
I think it's beyond companies. I think there are, and I can't say how I know, but I do know that there are individuals with a B with their name that are contributing towards whatever the hell they feel like the agenda is
the right thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so,
it's all over the place.
And it's what's literally it's what's best
and it's
for them.
coincidentally self-interested.
Yeah, it's always self-interest. It has nothing to do with us as a society or as individuals or a community. It's always about what's best for me. And this particular individual, I know, yes, there are more just like him. And there's a circle of them, right? I don't know if it's one. I don't know if it's 10. I don't know if it's 100. It's a lot. And they're trying to move the political agenda or fill in the blank agenda. This particular person is politics. And he got what he was looking for. And one of them is sitting in office right now.
Was he looking for all of the showboaty stuff that we see and ICE raids and the government shutdown and all of the Doge stuff, or was he looking for lower taxes?
Yeah, not lower taxes for sure, but there's more to it than that. It's not that simplistic.
Are you talking about just like a big money donor, like a billionaire or something like that?
No, I'm talking about it's something like that,
or a political architect
that has $1 billion or more that is moving the needle for their agenda. And their agenda, it's not millionaires. It's not $10 or 10 millionaires, right? It's billionaires. It's protecting the club. It's protecting our fiefdom, if you will.
Leaving us free to run the world.
Yeah. The piece that really drives me batshit crazy when we talk about this issue, we have insurance for our citizens. And insurance companies generate a profit, and they're beholden to a shareholder. I, the shareholder, want you, the insurance company, to be profitable. Well, how do insurance companies for healthcare get profitable? Deny, right? Or limit. So I would argue that we are back-asswards on a lot. This is easy for me to pick on. It's health insurance. I would argue we're backwards like that on a number of programs for our society, for our citizens. It's not just one, it's multiple.
My father was health insurance. Thank you. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
you've insulted my family.
I'm so
looking
sorry.
into the health insurance thing, 2/3 of our healthcare costs are health insurance related.
Absolutely.
And then there's the whole industry.
Yes.
Part of me thinks it's a jobs program as much as
It
is
feels like it,
anything.
doesn't it?
When
you dig
it's
into
obviously
it.
profit.
That's why
And-
Obama wouldn't touch it.
Right.
If you recall back in the day, the individual mandate was Romney's idea in Massachusetts.
That's right.
It was the idea that the Clintons fought against and ultimately didn't pass healthcare back in the early 90s because they didn't want an individual mandate.
Right.
So now we've got the individual mandate, and it's the big leftist idea that Obama brought.
Right.
But you can't even I don't know. I'm doing physical therapy for a rotator cuff issue. I have not met my deductible all year because we just haven't needed to.
Yeah.
And I'm paying out of pocket for this. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So,
Well, by the way, paying out of pocket is the way to go.
Yeah. Well, paying out of pocket isn't the problem. It's paying out of pocket on top of very high cost insurance.
Mhm.
Well, that's what I was going to say is, like I would say a double digit chunk of our income goes into health insurance that we never use, because anytime there's something that needs to be done, like right now, I need some back stuff.
Mm-hmm. I always say that about you.
This is always, we haven't used our health care other than like our regular wellness visits.
Yeah.
So I'm like 10 grand away not out of pocket, but deductible
Yeah.
out of, so it's like, I'm not going to get health care because I can't afford to get health care because I paid $28,000 this year for health care that I'm not using.
Yeah.
And it makes absolutely no sense.
Right.
And some would argue the ACA made it sort of
So
concretize the insurance company's ability to take 20% or more of my income.
Let me ask you a question about this. Do you think that the U.S. has the palate to accept the idea of a socialized medicine program, a government-funded program through tax dollars?
So long as we have the higher end paid option for people with means. That's the whole point, right?
So you think that that could be something that moves forward and is passed if it does?
Well, let me ask Chris.
Maybe there isn't the political will, but the question is, can the U.S. at large, vote in favor of that happening?
Well, it would collapse the insurance industry,
right?
Which would devastate the economy. Mm-hmm. Even though it's the biggest tick or leech on the economy, it doesn't provide any value, right? It's just
other than keeping people from dying, hopefully.
Well, no. That's what the healthcare does.
Oh, you mean the insurance?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. No. I'm not saying healthcare. I'm saying the insurance industry, one of the biggest, doesn't provide anything of value. Just siphons off the economy.
You're right.
Right. Go ahead.
I think it happens no matter what. What I mean by this is that
if there's money, people will take it.
Yes, but there are alternative methods that are in the marketplace today that are succeeding and will continue to succeed. And there will be variations to it. But what you guys describe as healthcare is exactly what I used to go through, right?
Yeah.
It was $28,000 a year in premiums, and then a $12,000 deductible, or $24,000 in premiums and a $12,000 deductible to get 80%. Mm-hmm. And that seemed ludicrous. It still does.
And you've got that
so
new
much
program
more
that's
affordable to bankrupt after a medical procedure.
So you migrate towards something called, and it's not perfect. Let me clarify, but we migrate towards something called CHM, Christian Healthcare Ministries, right? Yeah. They pay 100% of everything. And they don't care who you go to, but it's no prescriptions. The management of your health is put on you, the individual.
Right.
This is where, Chris, it's not perfect. They don't acknowledge anything other than the Christian lifestyle, right? So marriage, husband and wife, they don't, no abortions, no addictions. They don't cover that.
You told me to fib when I talked.
They don't cover addiction and or abortion, right? Because, all right. And if you dig into it a little bit, I get the premise, but it's a money drain, right? So addiction will suck a lot of revenue out of any.
Yeah, we don't have an answer for that yet.
Health sucks a lot of revenue. So let's get into a couple other.
Yes, let's move on.
Let's get into a couple other topics. So Zohran Mamdani is proposing, I believe, 4 or 5 key policies, 3 of which have kind of risen to the top in an article that I'm going to link in the show notes today.
Yeah.
He pushes the idea of free buses in New York City. Okay, so there's 5 lines that are already free because of a previous bill that he was one of the legislators that helped pass. And then he's talking about freezing rent. And then he is talking about changing the nature of policing to have more of a civilian core policing program. Okay, so I want to talk about each one of these things, and we're going to start with free buses. The idea here is you've got part of the cost of living in New York City is it's expensive to get around. You either got to pay a bunch of money to own a car and park it and all this stuff, or you have to do what most people do in the middle class and lower income is they take public transit because they have the benefit of using public transit. And of course, certainly all classes use public transit in New York because it's available. But he wants to make the buses free. Okay. So obviously he has to pay for that somehow. Is that a viable option? Chris,
buses and subways or just buses?
I think it's just buses in the initial proposal.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that? Is that a viable strategy? Can it be sustained? And
I mean, somebody's got to pay for it, right? You've got to pay for the gas. You've got to pay for the bus driver. You got to pay for the gas. You got to pay for the bus drivers. You got to pay for all that stuff.
It's taxes.
So in New York City,
somebody
come on now.
else should do something about this.
Right.
That is the.
I think that it's a great idea. I don't know how you do that or a lot of the other things without raising new revenue.
Right.
And I'd also say, don't we live in a world now where these types of facts of where do we get the money from doesn't really matter? I mean,
just increase the debt.
Yeah, we just increase the debt.
Print more
Nobody
money.
really cares.
Interest rates went down today.
Yeah, interest rate. Yeah.
Increase the debt.
And that's kind of the way that this country is operated for. Like we put everything on a credit card. So when it comes to giving things to people that are actually helpful,
right,
we have to say, oh no, we can't afford it. And at the same time, we've got to figure out how to afford it. So if he can pay for it, do it. But he hasn't. Have we heard what his plan is to offset these things?
Yeah, I think the published plans are scarce on details.
Sure.
Yeah. This
That's
guy.
a no.
This guy
You're
is
right. Was it? I've got ideas for a plan. I've got a plan for. A plan.
Just listening to him for an hour. I think he was on maybe it was the Schultz podcast.
It's been on all kinds of
Well,
stuff.
he's been everywhere, but I listened because I knew they were going to kind of like pick at him a little bit.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hear a less structured environment. Yeah. He's very, very good. He is a Gavin Newsom level he's a young, but in terms of like tier, I don't assume anything he is saying is true.
Yeah.
But because he is saying it so well that it can't be sincere.
It sounds believable though.
Well,
right?
no, that's the scariest thing is he might be sincere.
Yeah.
I think he is sincere.
Which is crazy. No, those are the worst ones. You want the liars, not the psychos.
No, I understand, but I think he really does buy into what he's saying. I think he is sincere.
I think he thinks it will get him elected, and then he can make a difference. And
maybe.
And I'm not picking on him at all.
Sure.
If anything, I put him with Newsom in the sense of this guy's he is too good for what's happening. And the amount of money and support and momentum and how good it will be for a lot of people that it doesn't make sense why it's good for them.
Do you see why so many people within both parties are so pissed off and so aggravated that someone like this would get the attention?
Yeah. Here's my complaint. Is this really the best we have to offer?
It is.
Well,
because whoever we
I think that's a good answer, Michael.
It is.
We get what we deserve.
One of the things that I think is good about a politician who can really sell his ideas, even if he has to dilute them to make it palatable, like he might be
or
doing,
technically meet some that are kind of insignificant in the big picture.
Is that to me is a valuable elected official, because what you need from an elected official is to first start by having ideas enough that it makes you want to vote for them, and then be able to sell them in the next environment if they get elected, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, but Aaron, real quick on buses. Stupid idea, crazy idea, good idea. Like, how does that play out? Not knowing the budget, how do you see that playing out?
It doesn't matter. Are we going to punish bad behavior?
What do you mean?
Well, you can. All these ideas are great. I think we should do that. And if you don't punish bad behavior, like the subways, right? Why aren't more people riding the subways, right? Some people are scared. DC was a great example. Well, not a great example, an example of people thought the metro was safer and the use of it exploded.
Yeah.
Whether it was or not, whether that's why it was or not, whether it was all perception. But if you don't punish that bad behavior, same here in our town. Portland's another good example. If I mentioned.
Oh, are you? Is that where you're from?
Portland?
Have you been to Portland?
Yeah, I've been there. There's a problem. There's kind of a longer term problem that if it's not taken care of, this is all kind of window dressing. Would that be a good word for it? It's theater.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
So Michael, how do you see free buses playing out? Does that is it? Obviously, you can consider the idea that, okay, fine, if it's paid for, it's better to be able to get to work than to struggle to get to work, right? But how does that play out? What are the negatives or positives that come out of that? Is it a net positive, or do we start to have problems?
I want to believe it's net positive. I've been to other parts of the world where you use their free transportation. It's clean, it's efficient, it's wonderful. And we have some of it in this country, oddly enough. If you go up to the Pacific Northeast, you can, or Northwest, you can take public transportation from the airport free straight into the city.
Oh, and you don't even, here's the thing. The buses in Portland aren't free, but you can just not pay and nobody will do anything.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah, I've done it. I've done it in Portland.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I'm all in favor if it can be supported financially. There has to be a financial plan to it.
Yeah.
To simply say we're going to do this and then figure it out, I've never bought into that nonsense, and I still don't.
Okay.
And I'm interested in that. Are the bus fares just so expensive in New York, or is the issue with the bus?
I don't want to be on the bus.
It's like for one ride in the subway, and I don't know, the buses are probably similar, but it's like $3. So, or $2.75, I think is what it is. So you ride the bus to and from work, it costs you, $5.50. And that is no problem for your average person who is lower
middle class enough,
gainfully employed. But if you're making, $15 an hour, it's a half an hour of cost just to get to and from work.
Yeah.
Right. So
you're talking about potentially a couple $100 a month.
So what I'd like to say to that, as a business owner, we offset that cost to our employees, and we have, and we'll continue to do it, whether it's parking and we had an individual that makes a pretty long commute, and one of the perks is a gas card. It's a fuel card.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
So we try to eliminate those issues, and I think if more businesses took that approach, we solve some of these problems we're talking about, but it doesn't solve the problem in its entirety.
Right. But you have a business that is profitable and small enough that you can identify the needs of each one of those individual employees, and you're not looking at each one of them from a spreadsheet like someone with 1,000 employees might be.
But they can look at it the same way we do,
sure.
Daniel.
And I agree, but what I think that is a good idea doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Correct.
Right? So that kind of thing would be great if everybody did it, but it's a certainty that it won't be the case.
Right.
So should a regulation say you have to do this sort of thing?
Yeah, see, I hate regulation. I don't like it when people tell me what I have to do from a business perspective as a business owner. I don't like that. I want to be
prescriptive or prohibited.
I want to be in front of that.
Are you pro minimum wage, anti minimum wage?
I really don't weigh in on it because we simply pay what we think the job is worth, right?
Yeah.
And we have had to increase our hourly rate because of what happened with the pandemic with $18 an hour at Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
But we never poorly paid our people.
Yeah. So for what you're describing, it seems like maybe if a large employer would lead the way, it would create the competition.
Yes.
And the market would have to follow.
And
to some
all
degree.
four of us in this room have seen that happen.
Yeah.
We have seen really good companies step up and say, yeah, here's what we're offering. And then everyone else has got to follow if you want.
Yeah. All right. So I want to ask you guys about the idea of freezing the rent. Because that happens to some degree in a lot of cities, right? There's affordable housing all over the country. But what, Mamdami is proposing is he's proposing coming in and freezing rent where it is right now. It's unclear if that lasts for a long time or if there's like
it's indefinite. It's not forever and ever.
Yeah,
it's just freeze it.
But what he's selling is this idea of like, we're going to stop letting these billionaire property owners make all the money off of our, need for housing. How does that work?
I believe in the research that I've done, and by research, I mean I Googled it. He's proposing a 1-year pause and a commission to study ways to make rent affordable in the city in tandem with building, a bazillion new buildings.
Mm-hmm. How do you build the buildings?
I imagine
investment,
concrete, mortar, steel.
No money.
Okay. Well,
all that stuff's made of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm wondering is how do you get to tell investors at large, say, nobody's allowed to increase their
Nobody
rent
can
prices.
Make money.
You cannot make money. If costs are going up, they're going to keep going up, but your price to sell your product is not going to match that. But we want you to invest in all this other stuff. Here's how you would do that. Here's how you do it, because it happens all the time. The strategy, I don't know if this is his strategy or not, but the strategy is, say, if you stabilize your rent for this period of time, that's a definite period of time, we will give you a tax incentive, which is essentially giving you money back to build XYZ types of buildings.
Yeah.
And then it actually does become a limited profit opportunity for those property owners.
So basically the government will not take the money it was going to take from you.
Right.
In your attempt to make money.
Right.
And so now that the government doesn't have that revenue, where are they going to get that money from if not from taxing the investment?
Yeah.
Right. So now they've got to make that up because they're not going to all take a pay cut.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And I don't believe this is true, but the thing that I heard very young that has stuck with me is the government does not need more money. They have too much already. They take too much already. It's being redistributed. That's what the government does, is redistributes the funding. And a lot of people do very well for it. And obviously a lot of people don't.
Yes.
But more money can't be the solution because you've never spent it well in the first, give me an example of something the government has stepped in, has intervened in, subsidized or taken over, and has since improved.
I mean, I can, but I don't want to change the subject
well,
too
no,
far.
and that's a sincere question, by the way.
I would also echo Daniel that yes, there's a lot. I'm trying to
pull the mic
you don't
over.
have to look at me.
I want to though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. I get
So
it.
That's an adjustable mic.
It's
a
the
boom
eyes,
arm,
isn't it?
It's a boom bar. Built. Oh wow! Look at that. So I would say yes. There's a lot of things that the government has funded and subsidized that directly benefit all of us. That has improved over time.
That has done a better job.
Better
than
job?
private industry.
I think.
I think the answer remains the same.
Right. Medications are all subsidized. Every new innovation of medication is subsidized by the American people and then sold back to us at a profit. All of the major pharma, is that incorrect?
I believe that's correct. I can't give you specifics.
I think you're right. I'm just not connecting with what makes that a good thing.
I think
is that we pay for the development of it.
No, it's terrible.
It funds the proliferation that takes forever to make a profit back. So,
gotcha.
Right.
So, I misunderstood your point.
Yeah. So, but I would also say that public transit is not everywhere. But it's almost always essentially a government run and partially government funded entity. I think that basically doesn't exist without government. If nothing else, because the scale is so big that so few corporations could ever take that on.
And some do, but it's a controlling piece. Like
Yeah.
if you work for Adidas in Portland,
You depend
can
on
live
so
in this
much.
area, and if you live in this area, then there's all these benefits and
Yeah.
shuttle, right? Like you can work with them, but
Right.
if you choose not to, then you're on your own.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that this is why he's a socialist and not a capitalist, because the two options that we're being told are what is available is uncontrolled skyrocketing rent. So
Yeah.
the building next to me now we
usury,
can
greed.
Yeah, greed breeds greed. And then they depress wages, they raise the rent, they raise the price on everything, and then they expect you to pay for it or get a credit card and live your life on that, file bankruptcy and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The other side is the government pays for everything. And you're right. The government takes money and redistributes it, but we have an overinflated Department of Defense budget.
Sure.
Tax breaks for billionaires, like all of the
We're paying interest on borrowing because of the ways that we've spent
Well,
money in
but
the past.
but I also think about like health insurance as a analogy of health insurance is an industry that takes your $100 and turns it into $20,
Right.
Mhm.
right? And I feel like government, for the most, and that's not to say there isn't anything the government's ever done. There's things the government has overseen that I don't think we can do privately.
Right.
Fire stations are a good example. They used to be you either like paid for it or you didn't get a fire truck
yeah.
if something happened.
But to your point on insurance being this health insurance being this great way to dilute the value of your spending on paying for your health care.
Well, they just take the biggest vig.
That's a reason why a government more government in healthcare would, in my opinion, be valuable, because the government might be inefficient with money. That's kind of like the ongoing narrative, is that, the government's never efficient with money.
People who don't earn it,
neither are
never
people.
spend it well.
Yeah, wait, as you would say, wait do you hear about people?
Yeah.
Wait do you hear about corporations, because that insurance company, they might be efficient with what they want out of your insurance premiums, but they are not. That is not an efficient way to pay for healthcare, and paying as you need it is not efficient either, because of how much of a burden the surprise costs can be to most people. Right. Most people, maybe more than half of the population would suffer from that. So I think that that's an opportunity where the government, maybe they do need to have some kind of administrative portion of that premium to fund the government operation. But I think that in theory, there's no need for a profit if you're the government, right? The profit doesn't work the same. It's not that they don't charge for functions.
The profit would be the reduction of taxes on the citizens.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah.
Hypothetically.
I mean, I have a very like Aaron Sorkin view of the government, very West Wing, that the government can be a force for good. It is the only force for good that we have right now that we all collectively are part of, we pay into.
Yeah, it's killed everything else.
But it hasn't. What is dead? Capitalism.
Every form of community except for sports and politics.
It has not been killed by the government. It has been killed
by the you're right.
By the politicians who are funded by the corporations that are doing their bidding.
Okay,
that's what's
we're
killing
everything. Same team.
So for me, it is the evil corporation, but even that's kind of silly and sophomoric. It is the billionaire class buying in politicians. The further away you get from your roots as an everyday person and you climb that political ladder, the more susceptible you are and the more you need the deep pockets of the people that want to mold you into their policy. I mean, the Democrats had all these great ideas, or at least purported to, and then when it came time to it, when Obama had the supermajority that Trump now enjoys, they wouldn't even do public health care the way that we all...
They actually tried.
They tried. They had one vote to convince, and it was the guy in West Virginia, and he said no. But Obama didn't start with a public option.
Yeah.
He started with an individual.
He was pitching during his campaigning, and then sort of like the stumping after getting into office. He was actually talking about how the best scenario would be a single payer, which he was trying to avoid saying socialized healthcare because it was considered bad. A single payer system, and And I think that there wasn't the political will to get it done. But also, to your point earlier, Aaron, you talked about, it's going to disrupt the actual economy because there is so much dependency on these corporations in the insurance
We
space.
have this massive private industry that's subsidized by the government.
Yeah. So in a way,
though it's built for profit.
when it passed, I was not a fan of it, but I kind of understand the mechanisms a little bit better now. In a way, I feel like it is probably a really good pathway to a better system, because what I see is, if you want to have a fully socialized healthcare system, how do you do it? Well, one way is to go part of the way so that you don't break stuff on the way there, right? And so if you have more regulation, then and you grow Medicare and Medicaid a little bit, and then you increase the expectations on the insurance companies that exist, then you can start to inch towards it, and eventually that Medicare Medicaid program grows even bigger, and then the insurance market contracts instead of crumbles.
Well, the problem is you have to get rid of insurance completely,
right? But that's what I'm saying. You
and that's
incrementally
how many hundreds of billions of dollars from
you
the economy.
incrementally contract the market over decades.
Yeah, it's got to be a controlled demolition if we want to. I mean, for me, the ideal society is a socialist society where we have government provided healthcare, education, and all of that. Yeah. There's a wonderful book you should read. It's called The Soul of Man Under Socialism by Oscar Wilde. I read it in high school. It's amazing. And I remember one line particularly where the soul is what matters. The artist can create art. The musician can create music, and they can.
And mostly nobody does any of those things.
Yeah, I think.
But that's not a criticism of socialism. That's criticism.
No,
of
look
people.
at the pandemic. What would you do if you had unlimited time?
Nothing.
You'd watch Netflix.
Yeah, apparently.
Ice cream,
you gain weight and watch TV.
And you definitely drink more alcohol. So let me kind of talk about this whole idea of this Oscar Wilde style socialism. I think it's a utopian ideal that sounds wonderful, but it doesn't actually work. So when I think of capitalism and socialism as, only two ideas, but let's just put them as the binary of far left, far right, I think of something that belongs on a bell curve. And so you don't want capitalism because that crushes the bottom of society. You don't want socialism because that hollows out the top of society, right? Where you're getting innovation and growth and pursuit of, bigger things for the country as a whole. So then what you need to do is find that spot where, you're getting just enough of each that maximizes the results. And that probably needs to change over generations, because when a generation is more because you kind of get these themes in generations. When a generation needs more government involvement or needs less, you might have to turn the knobs just a little bit to find that sweet spot. Because I believe that capitalism is one of the things that I've enjoyed most about being an adult. But I also see how it has brought negatives, some of which have affected me directly, and some of which mostly affect just people that are poor. It definitely creates a scenario where you can have this huge oligarchy and of, extremely wealthy people, and this enormous gap between them and, the average person and the average wage. And that gap has widened. And, I always hear people talk about this. So I kind of started to look this up and learn about those numbers and how it's changed over time. And the wealth gap, which may not by itself mean a whole lot, really has enormously grown. And I think that where that matters is that if you have the small percentage of people that control vast amounts of the market, they get to make all the decisions and control everyone else. And you're hoping that they'll be virtuous, but the odds are that they're not.
Well, and I would argue that the argument between capitalism and socialism on that point is which few people I want in charge.
Right.
Because in capitalism, I want the most effective people, right?
Right.
Not best. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
But the most competent people in charge. Whereas socialism says we want the people that we choose to be in charge.
Right.
Both of them don't sound ideal.
Yeah.
I would challenge your premise on both of those things. Capitalism's lifting people out of poverty. Socialism, I had a question for you, Chris. I spent some time researching it because we had a podcast some months ago, like a very specific topic of where has socialism worked. And there's a number of countries that it has, including modern ones like Singapore and whatnot. So the biggest thing that I came across and dug into and seemed to reinforce is for a socialist society to work and not be part of that example that is usually like communism or some form of that, which is the point to, Mao's China and all that. You need a homogenous society. You need an insulated society, and you need a resource-rich society. America is maybe one of those, which makes it, that's not to say that it can't happen, but there's a lot of examples of it but again, wait till you meet people, right? If you think socialism's bad, wait till you meet a despot.
Right. But I think
So Sweden did great with it.
Yeah, Sweden's awesome.
Well, until recently, they're having issues.
I think that they're having issues because larger countries are impacting it.
Yeah,
everything's going up, and it's to prove that I don't want to say that, but I'm saying like
that somebody wants to discredit the socialism.
Somebody wants to discredit socialism. I would also, because you sort of hinted at like with Mao's China and all of that, the big fear is with socialism is we're going to be this horrible country. I think we're already there. We're already an oligarchy. We have a massively funded secret police force that is nabbing people off the street, putting them in deplorable conditions.
Sure, yeah.
Very close to
for 100 years.
We don't have gas chambers.
No, we have better. Gas chambers, that's old school.
Yeah, that's so inefficient.
We don't have gas chambers.
No, we break their mind
We're not
virtually.
mass murdering people like we saw in Auschwitz. We are jailing a significant portion of our population, citizens.
Yeah.
Now people who look like they're not citizens, and we all know what that means, are being nabbed by people who will not share their faces, will not share their credentials, and have unchecked power. That is a huge problem for me.
Yeah.
And and especially, I don't get it. The people I grew up with that I love so much, the right-wing Second Amendment folks, this is what the Second Amendment, this is why we have it in their mind. So the government doesn't come into our cities and force us around. But they're the ones that are praising this. They're the ones like, you get those liberals.
Yeah. Isn't that ironic? That is interesting.
That's so
everybody's a piece of shit when they're in power. As a lifelong Democrat, I watched it for a decade.
Jimmy Carter was not.
But you're.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I meant like the existential. You're right. There's been great individuals. I mean, like whatever your party is, right? That's kind of the whole joke. Is like, well, if I'm out of power, then you need to have all of these virtues and things where you recognize the minority and minimize suffering and stuff like that. And then the moment you are, and it's like, fuck you deserve this.
Well, look at everything J.D. Vance said before he was vice president.
Before anybody said before they were anything.
Right. Like
they'll say whatever they have to say to get to the next thing.
With government shutdowns, you need to try to get something out of it if you're the minority party, of course. And now he's on the other side of it.
Well, I think that he's holding, I guess I would almost say that he's, staying true to his point because he's not the minority, so he gets to, use the bully or the secondary bully.
3/5 of people think democracy's great.
Yeah. So, all right, I want to cover one last thought on this whole freezing rent thing. So, just to put a pin in this topic, I think that when there's many studies that show that creating controlled rents, private buildings controlled with rent controlled by the government usually decreases quality and supply. And it's because you're disincentivizing development. But one of the things that I've seen happen here, because I've had clients in this space, multiple clients, and kind of learned about their business, is affordable housing, the way that Indiana does it, or at least Indianapolis, is probably a common approach, is they actually it is a great strategy to start your real estate portfolio, because what you can do is you can get low cost loans and low cost essentially construct buildings at a lower cost, and then get a tax incentive back.
Yeah. You can build assets and then take them away and sell them for
That's
profit.
right. And then, but what it ends up doing is it ends up being very thin margins, but still margins, right? So it's like a shorter path to building a really great real estate portfolio. But your most profitable properties are the market rate ones. So you need to start by building these tax incentivized properties. So the price is controlled for the renter, but the seller, a property owner, is still collecting a profitable number, even though it's low. You build up your portfolio there, and then you use your earnings or leverage
it into an
most likely
unregulated
leverage and
market.
not profit, to invest in market rate properties. And then I've seen every single one of these companies that I've seen over time lean into market rate once their portfolio gets big enough to have the leverage to do it, because it makes more sense. And so you're incentivizing that development, but still creating an environment for the safety net for renters.
Well, I was going to say, and if you talk to people who manage Section 8 properties, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
As somebody who grew up poor, and shit, could be again, awful people.
Yeah.
It's awful. You're dealing with people who just often don't know how to operate a complex life. And life is very complex right now.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Just trying to use QuickBooks.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I definitely take issue with that.
It's not
QuickBooks fan,
nice.
huh?
It's not nice, but
it's
universal.
It's not. I don't know. I used to work.
Do you know people who own Section 8 housing or have in the last 10 years?
I do know people.
You probably do. Yeah. So say
I
know
do
a
know
lot of
people
people
who own Section 8 housing. I have family who have used Section 8 housing.
Yeah, I've
I
lived
used
in
to be
it.
an advocate with IMPD, and I think I served about 7,000 people in Marion County, many of which were on Section 8 housing. And I feel like a tactic on the right. No offense.
No, and I agree with you.
Poor people are dumb and
then you can offer an anecdote or anecdotes of here's examples where they're not, and you're absolutely right. I was poor and I'm not dumb.
Well, I think both of you are making a good point.
I was very poor too.
Yeah, no. What I was going to say is it isn't an everybody thing. It's if you're in this environment, you're going to have 300% more hassle.
Yeah,
for 10% profit.
What I think is make your point in a second, Chris. But what I think is an important point is that if there is a percentage of, well, shall we say, deadbeats in society, okay, the percentage of deadbeats
15%
is going to be the highest. 13 seems good. Yeah,
13,
let's go with that.
Okay, 13%.
You're going to have a higher percentage of people that abuse, the building, abuse their home when they don't own it. They're renters. Okay. So regardless of the value, whether you pay the same for a house that you own versus rent, you're going to care less for it if you don't own it. And then an even higher percentage when you're at a lower income rate. And that just happens to be the case. And so I think that narrative is based on a true story, but it's pejorative towards the probably larger percentage that are just regular people that this is where their income level is at.
And my final point would be, I think that the perception is that, like we've talked about, if you as a landlord, and I have been a landlord as well, if you as a landlord make an environment that is nice, welcoming, clean, and up to date, which costs money,
no one will ever appreciate it.
I disagree.
I think you're right, Chris.
I disagree. This was the basis of Rudy Giuliani's cleanup in New York, was the broken window theory, which obviously the left hates.
Which we talked about this.
It was one of the most successful crime
podcast
renovation
we talked about this specific theory in our last episode, or the one but 2 episodes ago.
Yeah. So I subscribe to that if you give people an environment in a rental situation it does cost money to get there, and I know the margins are thin. You will have people treating the environment nicely. If you have the Section 8 houses that I've been in as an advocate or was in, 15, 20 years ago, then they're going to treat it like crap.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a drain and
yeah. But you're right. The broken window theory is a good example, which listeners can look back 2 episodes
Yeah,
ago
I'm
to
not
kinda-
quite sure because it's contrary to the thing you just said.
say what?
He's just saying that people, when there is a better environment, they value it more. And so if you have a blighted property, people are going to, it lines up perfectly with the broken window theory. People are going to treat it less when it looks like it's already begun being treated poorly.
Oh, see, the broken window theory, at least for me, is that kind of neglect is symptomatic of deeper problems.
Well,
So to your point, in a neighborhood with broken windows, don't live in that neighborhood.
right. Well,
It's not a.
That's
it's
not what the theory
if we
is.
fix the window, everyone would take care of their property.
right.
Yeah.
No, that's not what the theory is. The theory is that that once the rules have an appearance of having been broken, they are going to be broken even
They can
more.
accelerate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also a project that I tried to get off the ground when I was at the Domestic Violence Network was the Harlem model of you have social workers who go door to door to the different houses of people who use Section 8 housing and say, what do you need? Do you need
Yeah.
a high school diploma? Do you need mental health services?
Yeah.
Okay.
Help them get their life together.
So
Right.
or at least in a direction.
This
Help
is a
them
good
with
transition to talk about the last policy that I want to ask questions about. And Chris, you having worked with the police force in the past, you will have some thoughts on this, I'm sure. So one of the other policies that Mamdami is talking about is changing the way policing works to sort of increase the civilian, servant, mental health, social worker type roles in the policing system, so that you have these individuals who are prepared to address things that don't necessarily require a criminal response or a forceful response. Maybe because somebody is a nuisance to society because they're on drugs. Maybe that there is some kind of danger posed, but it's not because they're violent. It's more because they're disturbed in some way because of their health, possessed by demons. Yeah, possessed by demons and those kinds of things. So the idea is that they're going to put these. We'll call them social workers. I don't know if there's a better term for this role that they're talking about. So put these social workers into the police force. And then potentially reduce or maintain the more, traditional police force that's, guns and cuffs. How do you react to that idea?
I have so many thoughts because first, I was that role at IMPD when it was IPD for about 10 years. I was an on-scene crisis advocate for people who experienced domestic or sexual violence.
Yeah.
I would go on scene. I would listen to what happened, and I would ask them what they needed in their life to be safe for the next 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes that was shelter, hospital services, getting them on a bus to go be with family that are not in the city to get them out. And sometimes it was writing a protective order on the spot.
Yep.
So I've been in that role. And I had a police car and a radio too.
That's so cool.
It was really cool.
Pretty badass.
It was badass until I would go meet people that were my clients that had experienced this violence. I didn't have any police backup. I didn't have a gun. I didn't have a bulletproof vest. One time I'm in the house and the boyfriend who was supposed to be in jail speeds into the driveway.
Yeah.
Like tires screeching. I hit my panic button on the radio because I always had to log into where I was at.
Yeah.
And then I took my big bulky, about the size of my cell phone, my iPhone, my big bulky pager. And I told the woman to go out the back door. And then I stood there and the guy walked in and I yelled, IMPD, get on the ground right now.
Holding your pager as a gun.
Using my pager as a gun,
Hell
calculating that this isn't going to go good either way.
Yeah.
Arms up in the air. Then the police car came screeching around, 2 cars with sirens. Guy got on the ground. And then I cleaned myself up because I had an accident in my pants.
Did you really?
No. But I smoked about 5 cigarettes afterwards.
You should have just gone with it.
3, my third point, or my third interest in this is that my next door neighbor, and I'm going to try to hold it together. My next door neighbor about 3 years ago, an older black couple had their son was living with them. He was an adult. He was a very big guy. He was having a mental health crisis. His parents have very professional, very high-ranking law enforcement positions.
Yeah.
They begged the police to come, but to bring the mental health team.
Yeah.
Please do not use force. He's having a mental health crisis. I heard the 911 tapes. I saw the body cam footage. They didn't give a shit. They tased him 3 times. They tackled him. They handcuffed him. He died.
Oh.
And that was our next door, like literally our next door neighbor. And
that's crazy.
And that just sticks with me because we ask so much of our police officers. We ask them to be social workers, to be, guns blazing. We ask them to be negotiators,
medics,
therapists, addiction counselors,
warfighters.
Yes, all of it. And they're just not trained in that.
Yeah.
I would say 60%, and this is just an anecdotal number, 60% of an officer's runs daily are to domestic disturbance calls. They, at the time that I was involved with it, get about 6 hours of their training dedicated to domestic violence.
Yeah.
But 60% of their calls are usually some sort of domestic disturbance. Again, all anecdotal.
So it's the bigger part of their job, and they're trained the least for what it actually needs.
And then the qualifications of getting there. So all that to be said, I have such mixed feelings about the police, especially as a gay man, and their role in enforcing anti-gay stuff. So I like his idea, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. So when I think of this proposed plan, which he goes into detail, I haven't read the whole 17-page proposal for this.
That's it.
Well, I mean, it's a campaign, right?
Oh,
so,
yeah. It's
17.
It's 17 a long pages. List of empty promises.
So 17 pages for just this topic of policing, right?
Oh, okay.
So it's a proposal.
Yeah.
Proposed idea
he's outlining
campaign.
The ideas that he thinks will perform best.
But what I think when I hear this, I think, okay, so the problem is, I don't know how many of your role when you were, this crisis response role, but I imagine that it's less than police, right? So that means that let's say there's 1 for every 100 police officers. Well, you can only be in one place at a time, and there's 100 police officers that are responding to 100 calls, presumably, just for the sake of argument. And how can you deploy the resources efficiently unless, to me, it sounds like his proposal is exactly what is needed, but that what they need more in any city, but especially a larger metropolitan area like New York, is they must need to cross-train their police officers to understand more than just criminal response, right? Violent response. Because, one of the things that I talked about this with my daughter, Kaya, and she's like talking about, well, when you have a police officer there, you also need to have someone trained in de-escalation. And I said, I haven't responded to this. We're going back and forth on text, but I said, in my mind, why can't that be the same person? Why can't everybody who's trained to be, a public servant know how to de-escalate?
Also be a ninja.
if that is a key part of their job, because I think that, as Mamdami, I always struggle with saying his name, the Mamdami tsunami, if it does come into being as the mayor of New York, he has to understand, policing and economics and infrastructure. Why can't those key roles in, as a police officer, why can't they have 2 to 3 skills?
You raise a good question. You assume that he's competent in all those roles to begin with.
No, I don't assume that.
Well, you said he has to be, so why can't police officers?
He has to. That doesn't mean he does.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He has to have an understanding to be able to lead that thing. I'm not saying he doesn't bring in an expert.
I think
that would be the ideal
Yes.
scenario,
Okay.
is what I'm trying to say.
Agreed.
But you're expected to have more than one skill to take on an important job in every job that I'm aware of. So I would hope that they can train some basic triage, skills for a police officer that are not just force, which apparently is not so common.
No, so for me, I look at it as the officers that I worked with, the majority of them were just fine. There were officers that went above and beyond and that were compassionate, took the time to listen and talk.
Yeah. And there were shitheads.
And there were shitheads too.
Yeah.
That's going to be true anywhere. I look at this and I always take a step back. This is the Trump doctrine versus the left's doctrine. Trump doctrine being the sort of peace through power, or is it not might makes right, but they keep saying it's one of their talking points.
There's peace through strength.
Yeah, peace through strength.
Yeah.
Some biblical shit.
Right. Peace through strength versus the more tailored approach of meeting someone where they're at.
Yeah.
So with the police force, they want to either have this, you're going to authoritative, listen to what I say, you're going to roll down your window, you're going to give me your ID no matter what, and during this interaction, I'm in control, you're not.
You're required to cooperate.
Versus the alternative, which is, if someone is getting aggressive, the de-escalation is to take a step back rather than take a step forward.
Right.
I think that you would need a lot of social workers in New York City to take on some of these de-escalation roles.
Right.
In addition to training your officers. And it's going to take more staff. The left doesn't want to hear it. I don't know that if he wants to sell this, you're going to need more people because
you need a lot of people.
Because to your point earlier, you can't be in a dangerous situation without protection.
You can't. No.
And none of these people can be competent if things don't go well.
And it is hard to de-escalate someone with a gun next to your body.
Yeah.
An officer in the other room is way different.
Oh, sure. Than an officer in between you.
That was one of the reasons that we did not have the weapons and the body armor and all that other stuff. So
yeah.
And why do they have weapons and body armor?
The police?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because they get shot at.
Well, they get shot at.
What are the
What
are the two most dangerous? It doesn't matter. What are the two most dangerous incidences a police officer, a beat officer has to deal with in a day? It's domestic violence and traffic stops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's when you're most likely to get shot.
Yeah.
Or ambushed or whatever.
Yeah. So the narrative.
So to your point, they're playing on a different level of, am I prepared for guns to come out?
Right.
And to your point, sometimes there's people dealing with, I'm having a hard time keeping it together right now, which doesn't require a gun as a solution.
I do think that there is something to be said for the way that situations are approached.
Oh,
if a police officer walks in and he's trying to throw his weight around, versus the, G shucks Barney Fife kind of method of always letting them have that position of power. Let the person that you're there to address have a feeling of control.
Yeah.
You're still in control.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing I would do with my toddler,
Yeah.
Well, no, but it's a psychological framing that helps, especially a person in distress, get some soft edges around.
And that's not how we train police.
Right.
And
you're right. May I?
Yeah, please.
Well, I was going to say, I do jiu-jitsu for many, many years. Trained with a lot of police officers, and I always ask them, why are you here? Mm-hmm. Right? This isn't a practical thing because you shouldn't be grappling with a criminal or something. And their reasons are always the same as, I just want some non-violent options, because most of the time that I'm dealing with people who are becoming violent, who are being obstinate or combative, they're not like trained fighters. Mm-hmm. They're not that competent. So if I can be more competent than them, I don't have to pull out my gun. I don't have to pull out my taser. I don't have to get a bunch of other people with sticks and beat the shit out of them.
Yeah. So
So there are cops that want to find options, but to your point, they're like, I don't know, we take a class. Well, and cops need to be trained a lot better.
Cops, well, they just don't have time, and
Yeah.
they're
there's
always
not
going
enough.
from run to run.
They're dealing with the worst problems, not the precipitating problems.
Well, they're dealing with whatever gets thrown at them.
Yeah.
And I have always found, and that was probably the most shocking thing, is how the justice system operates based on if it's too hot, if it's too cold, if there's a Colts game on, if they're on the last day of their 6-day work week. All of those human elements of exhaustion, whereas we might say, I'm going to blow off this meeting, they can't.
Right.
But then they end up being
The version of them that is subject to those pressures.
Yeah.
So let's
that's-
wrap this up with a last question. So I want to just simplify this question of the whole topic that we're talking about today to, can Zohran Mamdani, assuming he gets elected, looks like he's going to, can he bring a more socialist agenda successfully to New York City? What do you think, Aaron?
There's so many qualifiers in your question that I want to pick
You're
on.
going to have to distill it down.
Well, so what I'll answer is he won't.
Okay.
I'm going to avoid your question by saying he won't, but I do think he'll win. I think I don't know that there's an alternative. Cuomo is...
Oh,
Yeah.
They've burnt that capital.
Right.
What about you, Chris?
I agree. I think that he will turn into the Obama of New York City, whereas in the sense of everything that was promised or was aspired to gets diluted.
Yeah.
And delivered in a technically we accomplished something that didn't change your
That's
life.
going to be the test. And I think
that maybe they will technically.
No. Here's what I think is the more interesting question. When all of his grand ideas are not able to be put into fruition, if he's honest about it and starts going after the systems or looking and examining the larger issues, then he's a transformational leader.
Yeah.
If he just bullshits his way out of this and says, well, we tried, then you're just there like everybody else.
Fair enough. So if he eventually creates a Doge,
Mm-hmm.
that would be the indicator of... Now, hang on.
Does
Good
his,
or,
no, wait, does
good
his
or bad?
Does
Good
his
or bad?
Doge just add money instead of
Yeah. No, that's what I was going to say. Good or bad, the intent is I'm going to uncover and dismantle the problem.
It's DOGI, Department of Government Inefficiency.
Yeah.
Well, and why is it these like
But the point is your point. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt,
No,
but
no.
I want to clarify because I think your point is he can be a transformational leader, but it won't likely be from him implementing the change he's promising. It's how he'll respond to this change not taking place.
How does he respond to the roadblocks?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to leave it there. It's Truthtake. Everybody have a great week.
Trick or treat.
Hi, thanks for letting me be here.
Thanks for being here, Chris.
No, it's my
Good having
pleasure.
you.
This is called the Minnesota goodbye.
No, you hang up
This
first.
is the Minnesota
you,
goodbye.
You hang up first.
You hang up first.
Did you hang up?
I did. Did you? He hung up.
Do you know the Polish goodbye?
What's that?
Where you call everybody a cunt and then don't leave.